All right, welcome to the Pour by Moxie Labs, and thanks to everybody for joining us today. I'm James, and this is The Pour. It's the show where we sit down with founders, operators, marketers, and innovators. We ask one big question, and we get it answered in the time it takes to drink one cup of coffee. And speaking of coffee today, it's actually later in the day, so I'm drinking a decaf blend. This is Ghost Town Decaf. It's from Partners Coffee Roasters, which is based in Brooklyn, New York. Today's guest is Mark Hughey. Mark is Fractional Chief AI Officer, and his message to business owners is simple. Own your AI, don't rent it. Mark, welcome to The Pour.
Awesome. Thanks. Glad to be here.
Awesome. All right. So, recently we reconnected, and part of that was driven by an online conversation that you sparked on your LinkedIn page. And it's really taken on a life of its own. It's a fantastic post, and actually we'll link to it when we post this show at the end. But if you dig into that LinkedIn post, your post really dives into this idea of encouraging companies and brands to build their own AI, not rent it. And given that this space is moving so quickly, I'm curious, break it down for us. What does that mean, and why is it so important to you?
Yeah, thanks. So the post was inspired by this story that I heard about this guy who was spending $3,000 a month on this AI tool called Victor. It's an AI employee, and it starts out at this normal $50 a month subscription. And I felt like when I heard about this $3,000 a month story, I'm like, well, it started at 50 and now it's 3K. And then I realized it working and being really impressive is kind of the problem, right? And then it's 36 grand a year later, you realize this is forever for software that I don't own at prices the vendor can change, at any time. But what I realized, what I thought was kind of missing from this AI employee conversation is, what are the risks to that?
Yeah.
And it's not actually just the AI employees. It could just be the blind commitment to one frontier lab ecosystem. And I think that kind of blinds us to asking the really important question to yourself, which is, where does the value live? And so that's where I kind of honed in on this. Owning your AI means the workflow logic, the data, the choice of which model does the work. All of those are things that should belong to you. You should be able to make those choices at any time so that if the vendor changes the deal, if the model goes down like Fable did last month, it got pulled for, on order of the administration for review. And, that's an extreme case. But the whole point is that if you do this right, if you design out your AI solutions, then you just swap the model when that happens and you keep running.
That totally makes sense. And I think these are the issues that business owners are dealing with, not just the uncertainty around pricing long-term, but also the implication to their business, right? In the same way that if you hire somebody and then you start to lean on them, well, if they leave or if something happens or, they get sick, then what's the impact to your business? And business owners need to start thinking about their investments in AI in a similar way, right? What happens if I can no longer lean on this particular model, agent, or tool? So what does that mean, or how do you do that to kind of own your own solution or build your own solution and not just rent it from someone else? Is this an infrastructure thing? Should I be running on a server in my basement? What does that mean to you, or what does that mean to most business owners?
Yeah, so great follow-up. And, own your AI is a really nice soundbite, which is why I chose it. But what I'm really talking about is dependency and control. For me, the key distinction is that I'm not dependent on those vendors. And the value creation doesn't happen in a component that I can't easily replace with another one. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the easy test is to ask yourself, what do you keep when you leave? Mm-hmm. Right. Whether by choice or you're forced to for whatever factor, what do you keep if you no longer use this thing anymore?
What do they do next?
You don't need to immediately rip anything out. If the tool's working, then your problem isn't necessarily today. but the real problem is like you don't have any exit and you don't have any backup plan. There's a line in one of my posts, like, you know, if your backup plan is running on somebody else's server, like you don't have a backup plan.
Right.
And so I think three things, right? Like, so just to be concrete, like what people can do is, you know, first I would say list out every workflow that, you know, runs on AI or that you're using tools for, like, you know, that is moving the needle meaningfully for you, and mark out which one of those are things that you could live without for a week, or like which ones would hurt same day, like, oh my God, crisis. My third thing is really start paying attention to what I would consider like is two different paths, like two triggers. One is in the AI employee scenario, like when the bill crosses like $1,000 a month, that's a trigger, right? Because at that level, there's a significant build versus buy analysis that can happen. And the way that I do it, like I can see, like you get paid back in less than a year. Like there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
The second trigger that I would look for is just like, what's the day that this turns into something you can't live without? You know, the scenario where like, if this goes down or I can't use this, we have significant pain in our organization today, because that flags like a pretty significant dependency and a risk that you want to start to think about how to manage.
Mark, I just wanted to say thanks for sharing all of your thoughts, and looking forward to keeping the conversation going on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, thanks so much, James. It's been a blast. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. If you've got too little time and too much caffeine, we'll see you on the next episode.